Okay, so in the first two problems, I want to go ahead and find the area of the circle. Remember, the area for a circle is A equals pi r squared, where r is my radius. So in both of these pictures, for 1 and 2, I'm given the diameter. Remember, to find the radius, it's half of the diameter. So I'm going to take that 18 and divide by 2 to get 9 for just my radius. Then I can plug into the formula. I'm going to have A equals pi times 9 squared. And I can go straight to Desmos and type that in. So I type the letters pi, and then parentheses 9, squared, which gets me 254.5. And this would be in inches squared, because area is in 2 dimensions. So moving on to number 2, half of 35. I don't know this one off the top of my head, so I'm going to go to Desmos and divide 35 by 2, which gets me 17.5. So my radius here is 17.5. And I want to go ahead and plug into the area formula. So I'm going to have area equals pi 17.5 squared. And I'm going to go back to Desmos and type that in. Which gets me 962.1. And this is kilometers squared. 3 and 4 are still using the area formula. This one tells me my radius is 4. What's the area? Round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to plug in. I'm going to have A equals pi times 4 squared. If I go back to Desmos, I can type this in. Which gets me 50 point, this one's going to round because of that 6, so 50.3. And this is centimeters squared. My next one is telling me a lawn sprinkler sprays water 8 feet in every direction as it rotates. So this one is, again, a radius of 8. So I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to have A equals pi times 8 squared. And then I can go back to Desmos and type that in. Which gets me 201.1. And this is feet squared. Remember, area is squared. The next one that I'm going to be working on is sector area. So for those ones, remember my sector area formula is the measure of my arc divided by 360 times pi r squared. And this will give me the area for a sector. So on number 5, my measure of my arc is 90. So I'm going to do 90 over 360 pi. My radius here is 2. So this is my arc. And then I have this. So I can go ahead and go to Desmos and type this in. I'm going to have 90 divided by 360 times pi. And then my radius was 2 squared. So this gets me 3.1 for my area of that sector area. Because we're still in area, this is going to be miles squared. Okay. The next one, my arc is 135. So I'm going to have 135 over 360 times pi. My radius here is 10, so 10 squared. So then I want to go ahead and type that into Desmos. I'm going to have 135 divided by 360 times pi times 10 squared, which gets me 117.8. And this is going to be inches squared. On 7 and 8, I am working backwards. I'm still using that area formula I have up above, but I am searching for the measure of the arc. I'm searching for the area of the whole circle. So I know that the area here is 156.38. I know the measure of my arc is 70 over 360. And this is going to be the circle area. So I'm going to use C for circle area. I want to get C alone. So I am going to flip that fraction and multiply both sides by 360 over 70 to get rid of that fraction. It's going to cancel out. And then I can go type in the left side in decimals. So I'm going to have 360 divided by 70 times 156.38, which gets me 804.24. And this is yards squared. The next one, I know my area is 11.17. I know it is 40 out of 360, and I know my circle area is C. So again, I want to get the C alone. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 360 over 40. It's going to cancel out on my right side. I still have that C, but on the left side I want to go ahead and type that into decimals. So I'm going to have 360 divided by 70 times 1117, which gets me, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places, 57.45. Wait, did I type that in right? That should have been 40, not 70. Which gets me 100.53. Fix that. Okay. Moving on. This one is wanting circumference. So the circumference formula is 2 pi r, or if I know my diameter, pi times my diameter. So on both of these pictures I have my diameter. So I'm going to plug into the second formula, pi times my diameter. So I'm going to have 58 pi, and then I can go ahead and just type that into decimals, which gets me 182.2 yards. Circumference is one dimension, so it doesn't get any exponents. Number 10 is the same thing. I'm going to do 10.2 times pi, and then I'm going to go ahead and type that into decimals, which gets me 32.0. And this one is meters. On number 11 and 12, I'm working backwards. I know my circumference and I want to find my radius. So I'm going to use the first part of this equation up here. I have 13 equals 2 pi r. So I want to go ahead and work backwards to get r alone. I am going to divide both sides by 2 pi. So if I go to decimals, I can do 13 divided by 2 pi, which gets me 2 point, this is going to round 1. And this is in meters. So same thing over here. This is my circumference. I'm going to have 58 equals 2 pi r. I want to get r alone, so I'm going to divide by 2 pi on both sides. I can go back to decimals. Oops. So I'm going to have 58 divided by 2 pi, which gets me 9.2. On 13 and 14, this one wants me to use the arc length formula. This is the measure of the arc. over 180 times pi. So I want to go ahead and plug in. I have my arc here is 60 over 180. Ooh, I forgot my radius. So I'm going to have pi times my radius of 6. And then I can go ahead and type this into Desmos. I'm going to have 60 over 180, and then this should be times pi. Oops, why did it stop typing? Pi 6, which gets me 6 point, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places, 28 centimeters. Okay, so I can do the same thing for number 14. I have 150 over 180 times pi. My radius here is 18. So I'm going to go type that into Desmos. I have 150 divided by 180 times pi times 18, which gets me 47.1. Numbers 15 and 16, I'm working backwards. I know my arc length. I want to find the measure of the angle. So what I'm going to do is I know that x over 180 equals pi r. Oh, yeah, I'll just write this for now. And that should give me the arc length. So I want to plug into here. I don't know the x, that's what I'm solving for. 180 pi times my radius of 24 should equal 48. Oops, 48. So then what I want to do is I want to multiply both sides by 180 to get rid of this fraction on the bottom. So I'm going to go to Desmos and type in pi times 180. Or not pi, 48 times 180. Which gets me 8,640. So I have x pi 24 equals, what was that number? I just had it. 8640. And then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by pi 24. I go back to Desmos. Gets me 114, and this is going to round to 0.6. This is degrees because it's an angle measure. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to have x over 180 pi times my radius, which is 7, equals the arc length, which is 26. So again, I'm going to start off by multiplying both of my sides by 180. On the left side, that cancels out. So I'm left with x times pi times 7 equals whatever 26 times 180 is. 4,680. Then I want to go ahead and divide both sides by pi times 7. Which gets me 212.8. And this is degrees. On my last few problems, I want to convert angles to radians. This one I multiply by pi over 180. So what I do is I rewrite the fraction, so it's 45 over 180 pi. And then I just want to simplify this part, so I can go to Desmos. I had 45 over 180, and if I click the square over square, it'll turn it back into a fraction. So it's 1/4, which I can just rewrite as pi fourths. So same thing for the 70, I'm going to multiply by pi over 180, which gets me 70 over 180 pi, and then I want to simplify that. which if I turn it back into a fraction is just 7 over 18. So this answer here is going to be 7 pi over 18. Okay. Then my last thing I want to do is convert angles to degrees, so I multiply by 180 over pi. The pi's will cancel out, and then I have 5 over 18 times 180, so I can go to decimals and type that in. Which gets us 50. So I can do the same thing for the last one. I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. Pi's cancel out. I have 2/3 times 180. Which gets us 120 degrees.